My name is Sahar Andrade. I am one of the city trainers. I have been with the city for training for the city for almost 3 years now. I am a diversity, leadership, and cultural competence consultant. And how I came to do the diversity and cultural competence is I lived a different life. I lived in 7 countries, and I traveled to more than 55. Most of my life I've been dealing with different cultures, so what I bring as an experience of diversity and cultural competence is actually a first-hand experience rather than reading something in a book. So today we're going to be talking about diversity and business etiquettes and how it is important, especially that we work with clients and customers all the time. I know for Chip, I see him like every day in that little window dealing with different people, different backgrounds, different ethnicities. But so this is what we are going to be talking about today in the next 3 hours. So we're going to take a break in the middle around 10:30. So we need to understand what etiquettes, the word itself, means, and where did we come to the word etiquettes? What's culture, the social skills, how we introduce ourselves, what is the first impression that we leave on people, what is the impact that we leave on people, how we should dress professionally, what even professional means, office conduct, how we conduct meetings, eating etiquettes or dining or lunch etiquettes. I go a lot in like different business dining or even lunch meetings, and I heard sometimes like, oh, we don't eat with our clients, but you do go to conferences and you meet other people. And the most common mistake I always see in dining etiquettes is where the bread and the drinks are. So many times people have taken actually my little plate, the bread plate, and use it because it's situated on my left side, but it's on the right side, they assume it's theirs. And actually, the bread is always on the left side, but we're going to be talking about that in details. What are the business and office boundaries, telephone etiquettes, and reporting skills for whoever is in a supervisory position? So without further ado, let's start talking about what is the origin of etiquettes. Where did the word come from? Do we know where it started? Does anyone know where it started?
Sounds French.
Obviously, it's French, yes. And actually, it started was what we call Louis XIV, meaning Louis XIV. He had a beautiful garden that everybody, because it had so many different flowers, everybody would step inside and would kill those little plants. So he started putting a big sign that they called etiquettes, and this is how it was written, to keep people off the grass. Of course, it didn't work. So he had to go to actually the king to have an official decree that they called later on etiquette. That's how the word evolved. And later on, it went to tickets. And we know that wherever we go, if we go to a concert or we go to anywhere, if we don't have a ticket, we don't get through the door. So they link tickets and etiquette as it's something that opens the door. We know that someone can have the best technological skills, but if they don't have what we call people skills or etiquettes, usually they don't advance as fast as someone having those interpersonal skills. So these are the words. The word courtesy came from court behavior. This is the essence, or this is the origin of courtesy. The word civility came from a city or civil, because there is a difference between the people that live in urban places and in the city. Polish came actually from being polite, and Polish gave the word to politeness. So these are the origins of where these words came from. And I believe when we know where everything came from, or the root of everything, we can somehow wrap our head about the whole principle after that. So what is the word etiquette? So when you hear the word etiquette, what comes to your mind?
Proper manner.
Proper manners?
Yeah, I would say manners. Yeah.
Exactly. It's more or less the blueprint on how we walk through life, how we deal with others, how we deal even with our family at home. It's the good manners. It's basically what the society looks as being norm or normal. And of course, we have different societies, so we need to understand that because we are diverse, whatever is normal to me is not normal to Julie, could not be normal to Julie, or is not normal to Chip. So we need to put in our mind that we are not the only people on this universe, and it's not like whatever we know is the best there is, or whatever we do is the best there is. So etiquette is a code of behavior that basically people agree on that this is the proper way to deal with other people, good manners. When we grew up, our parents, this is the first thing that we hear about good manners. They teach us, or they try to teach us, the best manners there is, so we can advance in life in a good way. In a professional sense, it's the behavior of how you behave towards your clients and your colleagues. We agreed it's internal and external employees. The common slips that we hear that people get ticked about are few of these, and these are poor listening skills. Like you would be speaking to someone and they will go on a tangent on something totally different, or they cut you off. And this is one of the most important facts that happens with poor etiquettes. Disregard of shared property. Meaning, how many times, I speak about myself, when I used to work in corporate, I used to have people just coming to my desk, picking up the stapler and never returning it. So this is shared property, and they feel like it's okay to do that. And this used to tick me off, because there has to be some boundaries that we're going to be talking about. Not having boundaries with others, embarrassing others, poor table manners. Some people, they just keep, because they want to be liked, they keep praising other in an actually irritating way, where you know it's phony and you know it's not right and it's not true. Inappropriate language, disregard of time, where someone will come, no matter how busy you are, they won't even ask you, do you have a minute? And they will start on a long story while you are really in rush to meet a deadline. Or someone will call you on the phone. How many people call you on the phone and they start going on a story without telling you, do you have a minute? It just, this is, so we need to remember that. When we call someone, we need to tell them, do you have a minute? Misuse of telephone and failure to greet someone appropriately. Sometimes we see people and just ignore each other even in the hallway without even saying good morning. So in a nutshell, business etiquette is what it means to be a professional, or what professionalism is. And professionalism will show in everything, how you stand, how you're dressed, how you talk, how you deal with others. And it's being basically comfortable in different situations. The most important part is letting the people in front of you, no matter if they are your colleagues or clients, feel comfortable as well with you. So this is more or less the introduction of what we're doing today, and now we're going to the nitty-gritty of the presentation. What does it mean to be professional? So when someone says you are professional, I'm sure that you take it with pride, but what does that mean to you?
Here would be you're courteous, gave them the information they want, treat the customer with respect no matter what the case is that they're here, and you help them out of your best ability, treat everyone equally.
Absolutely. Does anyone have anything to add to that?
Well, be competent.
Be competent.
You know your business, and if you don't know your business, let them know that you'll find out. Let your client know that you'll find someone who does know, what they need.
Exactly. What do you think is one of the biggest, the simplest thing to do, and the biggest thing that people that deal with customers forget to do?
Say hi.
Smile.
Smile.
Say hi.
Just simple smile. People forget to do that. And it's so simple. You know that it takes less muscles in the face to smile than getting angry?
Not unless you get sunburned.
There's always lotion for that. So professionalism professionalism doesn't mean a high job title. It doesn't matter what your job title is. You could be barely starting in a job, barely like the first week, but people will still call you professional. So professionalism have few myths. One of them is like the higher your title is, the more professional that you are, and this could be as far away from the truth. The most important part is not that you call yourself professional, but that actually others call you professional. Others see you as a professional. And I want you to know that most of the non-manners that happen around, people do it without really intentionally doing it. Meaning that people will be rude without really meaning to be rude. And again, we need to understand the diversity of people that we're going to be talking about in a second. How something that is not rude to someone can be rude to something else. So I'm going to share a personal experience with you. I was born in Egypt, so I'm half Egyptian, and my husband is Hispanic. So I went to Egypt for a while, and for like 3 weeks. And in Egypt, when someone says no, they go. So when I came back, my husband would tell me something, and instead of saying no, because it was in my mind, I would say. So after 3 days, he looked at me and he goes like, you know what, we do this to donkeys and horses, we don't do it to human beings. So that's for me, it wasn't rude. For me, it was like the regular things that everybody does, you know, at that time. But for someone else from a different culture, though he's my husband and he knows me very well, it was rude. So we need to understand that something that we can see as normal, as no problem, can be rude to someone else. And we have to always put ourselves in other people's shoes. We need to give credit and compliments to everyone who deserves it. A lot of people sometimes at work, because they want to advance and they don't care, they can take credit for others' ideas and other projects without really giving the proper credit to people. This is not professional. And actually professionalism can be taught and can be learned through self-awareness and through training. So there are a few myths about professionalism. People feel that the more money you make, the more professional you are. And professionalism has nothing to do with how much money you make or what your job title is. And it also, they say that the more credentials or degrees that you have, the more professional that you are. And again, this cannot be as far away from the truth that it really is. Because people can have, they have no bad manners. Like for example, we were in a hospital for a while, and one of the doctors was so rude that it made the whole experience even worse. And he treated people, I saw him treating people like they are beneath him, because he is the doctor and everybody else doesn't even understand what he's talking about. So, and that for me showed me how low self-esteem he actually has, because he used very big words, very medical words that no one will understand, just to intimidate people, you know, around him, even patients, when he actually should be helping them and not intimidating them. So that's what I mean. And also sometimes most of the profession that is stereotyped as not having good bedside manners are the IT people. Because they are so involved into their computers and their technology, they come in and out, they do everything without even looking at your face once. So this, again, degrees and credentials or money do not mean that you are a professional. So why should we care about etiquettes? Because the more etiquette, the more good manners that you have with people, the more the relationship will be better with people, either as your clients or even as your colleagues. And it will lessen the tension, it will lessen the stress that is there, and everybody will start feeling that their morale is high, and it will definitely increase the trustworthiness, and it will not jeopardize the relationship of people inside or outside the work as clients or as colleagues. Talk about benefits? Okay, now let's talk first about what diversity is, because we are going to be talking about a diverse workforce, a diverse world, and the etiquettes, culture, and how they all fit together. So the word diversity, Julie, when I say diversity, what it means to you?
People that are different around you, so you have to know who your audience is, pretty much.
Thank you. Mary?
Same thing.
Same thing? Nothing to add? Yes.
Mostly cultures, different places in the world people came from, different,
Cultures, backgrounds. Okay,
that's the biggest.
that's the biggest. Brian?
Well, it's just differences in backgrounds, ethnicity, culture, language, and even accents.
Accent.
Different parts of the country have different accents, so even in the same country,
Exactly. You can be from the same culture, from the same group, and still have differences. That's true. Ken?
Pretty much the same.
Ken? Chip?
Also differences in beliefs.
In
Like,
beliefs.
Someone's conservative, someone's liberal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and religion also.
And religion. Mark?
How about just a mix? Rather than focus on the differences, just a mix of people or mix of environments or cultures that you're involved with.
Exactly. Diversity goes way beyond the differences, like Mark said. Diversity, people have that, diversity is not Title VII, and it's not affirmative action. Meaning diversity is not only what color you are, or what religion you are, or what ethnicity you are. It's way more than that. Diversity, in very simple words, mean the unique characteristic that make every single one of us. But we, as human beings, we are trained, our brain is trained, our eye is trained on looking at the differences and ignoring the similarities. Though diversity can actually mean both differences and similarities. Diversity goes way beyond Title VII and the protected groups. Do we all know what are the protected groups? The protected groups are the people from different color, women, different religion, different ethnicities, but this is only what is called as compliance, or HR, what they tell you should not discriminate against these. But diversity has nothing to do with compliance. Diversity is the proper thing to do. Diversity is basically the unique characteristic that make every single one of us, and we're going to go through it in details. Yes, Mark?
I asked strictly out of curiosity. You said there's protected groups because people of different creed or color or whatnot. What's the unprotected group?
Yeah, there is no unprotected groups. If you want, people look at it and sometimes they say that the Caucasian or the white people are unprotected, but it's not true. All Title VII, by the way, and we call them protected groups because there is a reason why Title VII was issued in the 1960s for the civil rights. Because they are historically groups that have been discriminated against. That's why they call them protected groups. But everybody should be protected. No one should be discriminated against. So diversity, when we talk about diversity, is the color, the culture, is the background. Do you have a white-collar job, a blue-collar job, your education, your location? The people from New York are diverse than the people from Los Angeles, East Coast, West Coast. Abilities, disabilities, sexual orientation. Even the diversity of thoughts is part of it. Are you a parent? Are you a veteran? Did you go to the military? All this end under diversity. So diversity goes way beyond just the Title VII or the protected groups. It's who we are as people and what characterizes us. And people have been talking lately only about diversity. But diversity without inclusion does not work. So when we keep talking about diversity and the difference of people and of cultures, we're actually involving more exclusion than inclusion. So we need, yes, to know the differences, but also include them all together. Inclusion and diversity are two faces to the same coin. Inclusion is when we are okay with the differences and we accept them so we can get the best talents and we can get the best results for a place. But if we assume that we are all the same, all the rules that we're going to make are going to be based on the majority. So again, we're going to actually not worry or not care about the minorities. So this is more or less what the diversity and inclusion is. Diversity is about dignity. And so diversity, like I said, is not about compliance, and it's not about laws, and it's not about HR. It's about dignity. It's about giving someone their dignity. And people, when you don't give people their dignity, they take it by force. And we can see that around the world. The revolutions that have been happening is because people have been fighting for their dignity, because they feel they have been taken away, so they fight and they stand for their dignity. Honor is validation of someone's being. It's way beyond respect. Let me ask you a question. Is respect given or earned?
Earned.
Anyone forgiven? I'm the only one in the room that thinks that respect is given?
In what terms are you talking about respect? Because there's a general respect where you meet somebody new, hi sir, hi man type thing. But there's also the respect that kind of falls along the lines of integrity, and that is earned.
Respect and integrity are not really the same thing.
Not in the sense that they're the same thing, but, so, well, how am I trying to explain this?
Actually, you're right, it is earned. I remember bosses in the past, there's been bosses, they run your department in a way, yeah, any boss you listen because your job is in jeopardy. But there's some few years later, you look at it, man, I really respect him. Yeah, he did this, he made us work, but I respected the way he treated us. And there's bosses that you have no respect. So yeah, it is earned.
Yeah, something like what he was saying.
Okay, I will share with you my personal, through my life and through all the travels that I did. And I'm not trying to, I'm giving you food for thoughts. I believe that respect is given. Because when I respect you, it's out of respect to myself. When I respect you, you know, that means that I can handle whatever comes my way. It's the same as trust. Do you think trust is given or earned?
Earned.
Oh,
How can you know that you can trust me if you don't trust me?
You gotta prove that I can trust you.
Why should I go through loops? Do you like to
Just
be trusted?
Human nature.
I understand that. I'm just talking about theories. Do you like to be trusted, or you like people to put you through all kind of tests to trust you? What is the ideal word for you?
Well, human nature, they're gonna put you through to trust you. If I meet a stranger, I don't know who that person is. So, yeah, I'll trust them with, be cautious.
I'm talking about relationships, like at work, not a stranger. Like at work, we're talking about the workplace right now. If you have an employee that works with you, are you gonna start by giving him the benefit of the doubt, or are you gonna start by mistrusting him?
Well, you're gonna give them the benefit of that, but you're not gonna trust them 100%, so you get to know the person. It's human nature, I guess.
Okay.
I think for me, I trust and I respect initially, and then if you're disrespectful and you break that trust, or
I do that.
then I would be like, oh, okay, well, this person. So I get what you're saying, and that's how I am.
Exactly, because I trust myself that whatever you're gonna bring my way, I'll be able to handle it. And I'm not talking about, when I say I don't mean me as Sahar, but this is more or less how I live in life. I offer my trust and I offer my respect. Believe it or not, 90% of the time, it's okay, and I actually build very good relationships. Because you start. Someone has to start to break that cycle of mistrust, and because people are just people cannot trust you just because the way you look. Just because of your accent. Just because the way you walk. Remember, we judge people in a second, in a glance, without really giving them the benefit of the doubt. And we live in such a diverse world that we look at people, and our first impressions tells us, oh my God, I can't trust that person. And it becomes, because they're different, becomes them against us in our mind. So that's why we do diversity and inclusion, to break that circle, to break that cycle. So because at the end, if you really think about it, we are all human beings. And no matter how different we are, at the end, you will find out that you share something with the person next to you, no matter how different you are. Even if it's owning a pet, you will still have something in common with that person. And I'm not trying, I do diversity, and I'm not trying to do a kumbaya song, by the way. Just like, yeah, let's all love and peace. It's not about that. It's about the respect for humankind. And diversity, accepting the differences. So as human beings is basically, we are as human beings, we are diverse, and there are things that we can do as human beings, but we don't. Like, we can hurt others, we can steal, we can lie, but we choose not to. And we teach our children, hopefully, not to do the same. So this is more or less what diversity is about. Diversity also is age and gender. That's why the generations, and we're going to talk about that in a second, is part of big diversity that we face right now in the workplace. So what is the business case for diversity? Why should we care about diversity? The first thing is the rapid shift of demographics here in the United States. In few years, in 10 to 15 years, between every 3 US people, there will be 1 Hispanic person. So the average will be actually 30%. The African American community is growing, but the Asian American community is growing even faster than the African American. And we have, so the shift in the census in 2010 actually found a lot more little groups that are growing into the United States, like the Middle Easterns, the Armenians, the Persians, and they are really growing. Like till now, when I mark a box on an employment or any form, guess which category I'm under? White.
Oh, white?
Yeah, they consider Egyptians white, which is, so they actually, after the census 2010, they are gonna probably look at these proportions, and they will hopefully change the form or formats. Women are a minority group. Do we know what a minority, the word minority group means?
That's your power, not numbers.
Exactly. People people are under the impression that minority, meaning that you are a smaller group. Women are 60% of the US population, so it's not the numbers. But minority means actually a power group, the power of money, power of education and all that. Though more women now get bachelor degrees, 40% get PhDs, and they're very highly educated, and so the shift of leadership is somehow changing in the workplace, because more women are getting into leadership positions. And obviously the communication styles of women and men, the gender, is totally different. So diversity is starting to show in the workplace just between the genders, which is part of diversity. For the first time in the United States, we have 4 generations working together. We have the conservatives, the baby boomer, the Gen Xers, and the Gen Y. And the Gen Y that we consider the kids are coming out of age now. They are in their late 20s, they are in the early 30s. So we have people that are older, 4 generations that come from different backgrounds, different experiences, that have been actually shaped by the era they grew up in. So the conservative that grew up around the Depression era learned, and they came, most of them were veteran, came from respect to authority, to leadership, saving money, where the baby boomers that were the kids of the conservative, they came and they are mostly in leadership positions now. They come from an era where they saw their parents saving pennies, so they started saying, okay, it was the biggest generation in numbers ever. They're 45% of the workforce right now. And they saw, okay, you know what, the more we get educated, the more money we're gonna make, so they made a lot of money and they spent a lot of money. But they worked so hard. For them, it was work, 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 so they can have the house that they want, the car that they want. And what happened is that they worked so hard that it affected their family life. And the baby boomer showed the highest rate of divorce in the United States because they worked so hard. And they created, and it was at the time of the civil rights, women liberation, so women started working during the baby boomer era. Comes the Gen X that saw their parents work so hard that it broke the family. That's why Gen X now prefer the work-life balance. They don't care about that money that much, though they care about the money, but also my family comes first, and they became what we call helicopter parents, because they didn't have, we call them the latchkey kids, because they went to empty homes with the key, and they just basically grew themselves by themselves. So they knew what that meant. So on Gen Y that are their kids, they knew that to be helicopter parents, where they took them, they had a schedule for them, they took them everywhere. You know, they had a schedule, okay, now it's music, now it's football, now it's soccer. For the first time you heard the term soccer mom, baseball mom, you know, and you just, that's why Gen Y now are so attached to their parents, and their attention span is short, because the Gen X created that. Created the entitlement that they feel, because they always tell you are the best and you can achieve whatever you want. But now we blame Gen Y for who they are, though we created them. So that's why the diversity in the workplace, there is a lot of conflict between generation in the workplace, and it's part of diversity as well. Then we have 1 million legal immigrants that come into the United States every year. 1 million. Different backgrounds, different experiences, and I'm talking about legal immigration. And they come with their own different cultures and experiences, and they mix with the community that is already here. Because of the civil rights that are coming more since the 60s, and because of all the rulings of the Supreme Court, sexual orientation is not a taboo to talk about anymore. More people are getting out and saying who they are freely. There are either protected, and there are even now, they can be part of the medical insurance, of the retirement. So that culture is coming. The LGBT community is growing. It's part of the culture of the workforce. And then the disabilities. Disabilities are becoming a big part of our life because of all the veterans that are coming back from the 2 wars, and now who knows if we're going into another war or not. So disabilities is a big part of the diversity. And disabilities, do you know that there are 2 kinds of disabilities, visible and invisible? Do you know that? Visible are basically someone that can't walk, can see, can hear, broken arm, broken leg. Invisible is the psychological disabilities. I mean, we just lost Robin Williams a couple of days ago to depression. That is a disability. That is the invisible disability. The ADA, which is the American Disability Act, just added a few years ago, probably 3 years ago, that invisible disability is part of disability. So it included depression, anxieties, OCD, bipolar, and all the psychological effects. And I think that invisible disability is really, or mental illness, is not really looked at the same way, because you can see someone with a broken arm or with a broken leg, but you cannot see what someone has inside. And it's the same with the PTSD that the veterans are coming back to work with. So people cannot understand what they don't see, and that's why it's very difficult for the people with invisible disability to be part of the diverse workforce. And then the globalization. We have seen, like, now with the internet, there are really no borders. The world is flat. So we need to, like, start accepting that everything, even working for the city, whatever products that you have come from different parts of the world, come from Asia or here. So we have to kind of round our head about that. If we want to remember the proper, what covers diverse, remember the word regards. So R for race, E ethnicity, G gender, age, religion, disability, and sexual orientation. So just remember that, but again, diversity goes way beyond that. So what diversity is not? I know that a lot of people think that diversity is about compliance and HR, and it's only about religion and color, and it's not about being politically correct. People walk on eggshells around each other because they don't want to offend each other, when it's very easy to talk to people and ask them what they like and what they don't like. So we have the janitors, all of a sudden, you know, no matter what job we do is very important for wherever we are. So we have, like, for example, the bartenders, they call them now mixologists, custodial engineer, you know, it just, people like to be respected, not superficially, but actually be respected and valued for who they are and what they do, because each one of us brings something different to the workplace. And we don't want to be just caressed on the surface, but actually we want to be valued as human beings, not as that. Then it's not minorities, it's not black and white, it's not about blaming you or letting you feel guilty because you don't believe what I believe, and it's not about therapy, it's not about if you are like me, you are perfect, because there is no one perfect. And who says that whatever I am is the best? It's not about meritocracy, it's not about, like, if you are like me, you're good like me. And then the last thing is tolerance. Diversity is not tolerance, and I know that a lot of diversity people use the word tolerance a lot, but when I say tolerance, what comes to your mind?
Well, it's accepting but disapproving.
It's putting up with someone. Like, I put up with my brother-in-law because I know he's going home at the end of the day. But I don't really accept him. So diversity is about acceptance. And I know that some people can trap their head about it, but it's actually about accepting people for who they are. I always say, you take people as they are or you leave them as they are. People try to change people, I don't know why. Even in personal relationships. People try to change people, and I have news for you. People do not change. Behaviors change. Attitudes change. But people do not change. So you either take a person as they are or just leave them as they are. So what are the principles of etiquettes? Now we're going to talk that we talk what diversity is. Etiquettes is basically remembering the golden rule. What is the golden rule?
He who has a goal makes the rules.
Right?
There is a platinum rule on top of the golden rule. Do we know what the platinum rule is? Treat others the way you want to be treated, but the way they want to be treated. You can be treating me the way you want to be treated, but that's not necessarily the way I want to be treated. Remember, we are diverse. So whatever makes sense to you doesn't make sense, not necessarily make sense to me. So, but we are so involved in our little boxes that we don't see beyond those lines. And we need to start opening our eyes and look people as who they are and what they like. I don't want to be put in a box. I don't want someone to say, she is an Egyptian American, for example. I'm neither nor. I'm both and neither nor. Because I got so involved in so many cultures that I'm a piece of everywhere. So I am my own self, and we need to look at people that way. We cannot stereotype people. We cannot put people in boxes. You know, or they are too liberal, or they're too conservative, they're too young, or they're too old, or she's just a woman, she doesn't know what she's doing. He's a man, he's opinionated. So we cannot do that. We have to start looking at people as individuals. So it's everyone, the golden rule of, if we want to remember what etiquettes is, remember the word RICK, R-I-C-K. R-I-C-K is respect, integrity, courtesy, and kindness. And unfortunately, a lot of people forget to be kind, even to themselves. So etiquette is part, kindness is part of it. Never interrupt people, and at work, leave gender alone. It's not about being, it's not chivalry, it's not about chivalry, it's about respecting everybody as equal. So men and women are there to do a job, so the respect should be for everybody, and it's not about more of chivalry than other. So avoid jokes that are either of sexual content or of ethnic content, and people feel it's funny to laugh at jokes that can offend someone else, and they do it to be part of the clan, to be part of the group, or because they don't want to like raise any flags and they don't want to be called a troublemaker. But I need to tell you that if you forward these jokes at work, and if there is a legal problem, you are legally liable. So you need to know that. Because you did not stop it, and you did not. I know people don't feel like they want to report everything because they don't want to be looked at as a rat or someone that snitches, but at least stop it. You know, you don't have to forward those ethnic jokes that don't make any sense, that offend someone. Language count. When we talk to people, we need to understand that the power of words that we use is huge. People have a tendency to use negative words. Don't do this, I should, I would.